Welcome from Sitka Technology Group to the Washington Department of Natural Resources Forest Health Tracker. In this tutorial, you will learn an overview of the Forest Health Tracker and its important parts and how they relate to one another. The Forest Health Tracker is an instance of Sitka's Project Firma service, made available via an open source license, courtesy of the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency. The Forest Health Tracker is an effective tool for tracking projects and grant information as part of the Washington Department of Natural Resources Forest Health Strategic Plan, which establishes a framework to systematically treat broad forest landscapes to improve forest health and reduce the risk of uncharacteristic wildfires in the state of Washington. Central to the Forest Health Tracker are projects and financial information. A project is a description of work, while financial information describes the funding mechanisms that fund that work. Here we can see a featured project, the Patricia Beals project. Now let's look at the project map, where we can see all the projects currently in Forest Health Tracker and their plotted locations. If we click on a point, we can see a brief description of that project. Below the map is a table where we can view the different projects by name. Let's examine this Patricia Beals project in more detail by navigating to the fact sheet. Here at the fact sheet, we can see the important information for the Patricia Beals project that one would like to share with stakeholders. Now, if we navigate to the project details page, we can see how this information can be customized. Here on the project details page, we can see a more detailed description of this project. All of the context can be viewed here on the left-hand side. It's important to note that there are related records to each project that can be linked to by clicking on the blue text. If we scroll down, we can see the organizations who are leading this project, as well as the expected funding. We can see that for this Patricia Beals project, the 2015 Blue Mountains grant allocation is an identified funding source. Now, before we examine this Blue Mountains grant allocation, let's take a step back to the grants page. Here we are at the full grants list, which we can navigate to through the Financials tab. It's important to note that within Forest Health Tracker, certain terms have been defined in order to differentiate funding sources and clarify their relationships. The general term grant has been divided into 3 distinct types to allow for more detailed tracking and management. These types are grant, grant allocation, and grant modification. Here we can see 2 of those distinct types, grants and grant allocations. Grants are either a consolidated payment grant or a standalone grant. A consolidated payment grant is a vehicle provided by the U.S. Forest Service that allows multiple grant allocations to be delivered in a single payment. In contrast, standalone grants are a single grant allocation. If we examine a consolidated payment grant, we can see that for each consolidated payment grant, there are grant allocations that are children of this grant. It's important to note that grants and grant allocations have a parent-to-child relationship, where a parent grant can have one or many grant allocations. Now that we have a better idea of how grants and grant allocations relate to one another, let's explore the Blue Mountains grant allocation. Here at the grant allocation detail page, we can see the important information captured in a grant allocation, such as its parent grant number, which again can be linked through by clicking the blue text, as well as its budgets and expenditures. In this grid, we can see all the projects that this grant allocation funds. And here's Patricia Beals' project again. Let's navigate back to that project. And here we are at Patricia Beals. And now we can better understand that relationship between projects and their funding sources, a grant allocation. Thank you for watching this overview tutorial of Washington Department of Natural Resources Forest Health Tracker. For any more information, please reference the Forest Health Tracker user guide or request support through the help tag. Thank you very much.